today, this is a paid program paid for by Mr. Mark Etheredge, who is here with us today here on WBRT Radio. And Mark, you are a candidate for the position of a Board of Directors, Salt River Electric. For those that don't know a little bit of your background, bring them up to date, up to speed.
Okay. Well, I am Mark Etheredge, and I'm running for a seat on the Board of Directors for Salt River. The board, a member of the board is the voice of the people, more or less. They set the budget, they make policy. But I grew up in Nelson County, born and raised in Nelson County. My mother was Ruth Etheredge. She was a Guthrie from Nelson County. My father was T.T. Etheredge. He was superintendent of schools for many years. I have two sons, Devin Brown. He works at Fuji Seal, and I have a Theron, and he works at there. He doesn't work. Well, he's got a part-time job, but he's graduating high school this year.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about your background and why how that relates to this board opening that you're running for.
Well, I mean, it's what I've done all my life. I started in 1980, and I started with Salt River, and I worked in the industry my whole life. I started when I was 19 years old, and I started from the ground up. When I started, we were digging holes by hand and setting them with a flatbed truck and climbing everything, which that's just the way it was back then. But that's what I've done. I've worked through the industry. I've contracted. I worked for the city of Bardstown for years.
Electrical?
Yeah, and they own their electrical grid in the city, and I worked for them. That's where I retired from. But when you work for them, your law would be changing light switches in City Hall in the morning and hooking up a factory in the afternoon. That's just it's part of it. And I think that Salt River probably wouldn't hurt them to. I know the industry, so I had the time and the it kind of gets in your blood. It's hard to get out of it. And I have the experience, and I know what they're talking about when they talk about things, when they talk about the budget, when they talk about policy. I can ask the questions, and I know what the answer should be. And if it's not the answer, then why isn't it? So, I want to be a voice of the people as much as anything. And, the rates, nobody's happy with the rates, but, they are what they are right now. But you want to be sure you're fiscally responsible so that at least they don't go up.
Yeah.
And try to keep the status quo on the rates at least.
For those that are members of Salt River Electric, and that's what we are, we're member owners. I say we because
right.
I've been involved with them since they moved here.
Yeah.
Tell us about how this process, being elected to this board, comes about and how it benefits the people.
Well, I mean, it's every 4 years there's 2 seats in Nelson County, there's 2 seats in Bullitt County, and there's a seat in Washington and Spencer County. Each of them gets 1 seat. And every 4 years, they're not all of them at the same time, but every 4 years they switch on which ones come up for election. And it's really the voice of the people in that county, but I feel like if you're a member of everybody. You should be standing for every county, not just your own. And you're the voice. I mean, you're the person that's up there that they listen to, that somebody says that they don't like the way something's going, just like the phone system. They say, well, we can't get through. They keep us on hold. Well, why couldn't we change that to, something simple like give them your name and number and they'll call you back within so many hours. There's just simple things that could be fixed. If it helps a few, then, it's just something that could be improved, and new eyes kind of give a new picture of what's going on. And if they've been in the industry, what worked over here might work over here if you give it a chance.
I think your statement there, new eyes, it's a lot of times when you're looking at something, and you're inside the room with it, so to speak, you don't see it. But when you step outside, you look in, or you step away and look in.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you worked on something and it just frustrates you, and somebody else walks in and go, well, all you got to do is that, and everything works out fine. Yeah. And it never hurts to have new eyes. That's what it takes.
Yeah. Because you've had such experience in this industry, you know how important safety is for the workers and for the member owners.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. If you give your employees the right equipment, the best equipment you can afford, I mean, it's a dangerous job, but if you're trained and you know what you're doing, I mean, it's not something that's going to hurt you. You know, people have been doing it for years, and our job is to go out there, turn somebody's lights on, and keep them on. We don't want interruptions. If you have interruptions, it costs money. It costs people financial problems at home, tears up their equipment at home, computers, all their appliances, just one thing after another, and it costs us money to go out and have to fix them. But if we have scheduled maintenance like trimming trees, changing poles, reconductoring old wire, we got wire up, it's been up there since the co-op was built. Lightning hits it, trees get in it, it's burned up. All of a sudden one day it gets tired and it just falls down. And then, you're out there in the snow and the rain and the cold, and at night, it's not scheduled. You have to get people in, it takes time. It takes a lot of time, just get everybody together.
You talked about the safety, and you mentioned, I believe, equipment. Those are the things that impact the morale of the employees, is that they know that they've got being instructed and taught how to do it safely, and they're being provided the equipment. And again, going back to your experience, you know how important having a good morale of the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, a happy employee is a productive employee is the way I look at it. And if you give them the equipment it takes, I mean, as good as you can get, and you give it to them, and they're trained, and they go out and do their job, and they're happy to come in every day and work, and they're not grumpy or thinking that they're not getting what they deserve, or, they have good equipment to work with, and they think you care about them, you appreciate them, which you should. Then they're gonna give you more production, and it's not as much infighting.
Right, and you may learn, getting feedback sometimes is good, because it gives you an opportunity to act on it. We're talking with Mark Etheredge. He is a candidate for the one of the board positions in Nelson County on the Salt River Electric Board. That is a mail-out ballot that has to be received, checked off, and mailed back and signed by a particular date. Yeah. And we'll get into that in just a second, but just to let everybody know, that's how this election will work. And it's the same as it's been, I think, for many years.
Yeah, I think that's the way they've always done. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that, but it's...
Well, tell us about the director's job. You mentioned a couple of times some of the duties of it, but I'm sure there's more duties. I don't even know how often they meet.
I'm not sure. I think they can meet whenever they call one, depending on their workload, what they have up. But, every month, I think they have, I don't know how often they do it for sure, but, they have a capital credits deal, and they have to prove them, just like, say your spouse dies. Say you're going to move off the project and to another town or another state, whatever, it doesn't matter, but you're not going to be on Salt River anymore. And you go up there and tell them that, and they will figure your time on the project, and they will give you money back, just like if you have a spouse die. If you've been on it for 30, 40 years, I mean, it could turn into quite a bit of money. My brother passed away a year and a half ago. His wife went up there to change her bill over, and she got like $1,500 back. Of course, they'd been on it for 50 years, but it's $1,500 more than they had.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
those are decided. The numbers are approved by the board.
Right, and that all has to be approved by the board. They make all the policy. The hours of operation, how many employees they have, their benefits, how they go about paying, just like the capital credits, how they go about paying the capital credits. They approve all the budget, if they're going to buy trucks, if they're going to buy equipment, if they're going to buy new computers, if they're going to build a big line. They look at it to see what it's going to cost, and they have to approve that expenditure before they go through even to order the hardware to build it.
You mentioned that there's an idea of work being done that is sometimes putting, as you mentioned, the repair or the replacement or the just the continual upgrades of the old overall system.
Right.
Work being done on projects that you say, there's a possibility that they could be done on a private basis.
No, they have some contractors that work for them when they get behind, especially big jobs. You have a big job, you have to get out there. It takes more equipment, more manpower, and when you start, you can't pull off for like a trouble call or an emergency some type, and so they farm a lot of that out. But the main trouble I see is like all these distilleries, the rock quarry, a lot of those big companies like that. Everything inside their plant, they have what is called a primary metering. And like the wire going from their gates into their plant, they own them. And Salt River's coming in there and working on their stuff on our time. We're behind on, I know there's been an apartment out there by me that's been months trying to be hooked up. I saw them out there today finally hooking it up. But our customers are months behind on being taken care of, and they're sending our crews, our full-time people that work for us, we're furnishing equipment for, and they're doing work for them, even if they're paying them. It doesn't make any difference. It's taken away from what our members are expecting as far as service goes. And on top of that, it's just like us subsidizing those companies. They can hire contractors just like we can. Why don't they do that? And that's policy. That's part of the board. The board must have approved doing that. Well, I'm not much into subsidizing somebody else's operation with my electric bill.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, possibly not getting hooked up.
Yeah.
Or the maintenance, continued maintenance of anything, but certainly high voltage electricity that most of us hanging up in the atmosphere, getting hit by bolts of lightning and everything else.
And that's your service. You're not getting the service that you pay for.
Right.
When you have to wait like that, and the answer is, we'll get you when your number comes up. That's not an answer. That's not an answer, and that's not what you deserve. When you're a member, it means you own part of that co-op.
And in the past years, and certainly we go back to the ice storm, and let's just leave that out. But in recent years, we're seeing wind damage to our infrastructure for electrical Salt River.
Right.
And you say, well, it might have been prevented or lessened had we had some preventative maintenance things that
Sure
could have been done, but
why didn't we change out poles? Why didn't we change out insulators? Why didn't we reconductor the wire? We got some old copper wire that's been up there for years. Probably some of it since the co-op was built. And that stuff is, it's taken a beating over the years. And you have these storms come through. That last windstorm, I heard they had over 100 poles broke off. Well, I understand that, and that can happen anytime. They happen, but if you're doing a maintenance schedule, then you shouldn't have as much of that. And when you have people out of lights for 10 or 12 days, or even one day is too much, because people expect service. And I expect when you turn somebody's lights on, they should stay on. And that's part of the director's job, is making sure that those lights stay on. That is other than safety, that is our main goal as a co-op, to turn the lights on and keep them on. Without disruption, excuse me. Yeah, without disruption.
And you know, you go back to talking about that preventive maintenance. Anybody that has, well, even at your house, but even in a business like ours, you know, I know there's things sometimes that we don't do that. If we had done, we might have avoided a problem. Well, a problem for me is my radio station may not be sounding as good or even on, but the problem in the Salt River and the electrical world is somebody's maybe in danger if they are on oxygen.
Well, sure.
Or they,
I mean, there's
need that for
yeah.
their health.
I mean, there's people at home with like the kidney dialysis. They do
Right.
kidney dialysis. Well, that goes out. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you're on oxygen. You can't breathe. You're taking any. It's just all kinds of things that can affect your everyday life. Not your everyday life, but
Yeah.
your health.
And as you said, it seems like I ask this question all the time. Are we going to have these 30 and 40 mile an hour winds from now on? You know that
Yeah, but and maybe we will. But
Yeah.
we should be prepared for
we should
them.
be right.
We shouldn't be. I mean, I don't like them any more than anybody. But
Yeah.
but if we're prepared for them, we won't have as much trouble as what we have when we don't prepare for them.
Mark Etheredge is our person here on the radio with us that is running for the Nelson County Board seat on the Salt River Electric Board. There will be 2 elected coming up in a paper ballot, mailed ballot.
Just
Mark's
like
showing you
this.
that there. We're going to hopefully be able to get a graphic up when this is playing on the radio to show you not only the cover but also the ballot inside. Mark, you say it's 2 things. You got to make sure you get it. If you're a Salt River customer in Nelson County, you should get it.
Absolutely.
If you didn't, it could have got lost in the mail. You can check at the office. Is that
Right. Absolutely.
and then once you get it, you've got a time frame to act on. You must sign it and mail it back by a certain date.
Yeah, I haven't heard for sure when they're going to mail them out,
Yeah.
but they have a time frame that they gave me that they have to mail them out.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if they're having trouble with the printer. I haven't heard. Nobody's gave me an explanation. But between the 26th, which is today, right?
David,
Between the 26th and the 6th of May, they are supposed to be in the mail.
Okay.
And they take them all to Louisville to the main post office and mail them all at one time from there. And then you have, they have to be postmarked, turned in by the 21st of May. And last I heard, they were going to count them the 23rd of May. And they can count them all. You know, it's about 15,000 meters, I think, and usually only about less than 4,000 vote. But but you have opportunity. I mean, if you live there and you get a ballot and you want to vote, then you have it. I mean, and if you don't vote, then you're almost giving up your voice.
Yeah.
You're saying the status quo is good enough for you.
And I think your idea of new eyes, new fresh, new views also is come from the standpoint, I believe, of saying, okay, let's not the way we've always done it isn't always the best.
Right. I mean, there's room for improvement anytime,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but you have to use it. I mean, you have to put out the effort, and you have to look at things that you want to improve on, and if you don't say something about it or say what you want to do, then it's not going to get done.
Mark Etheredge running for the Nelson County, one of the 2, I guess we would call it seats or members of the board of directors of Salt River Electric. And as we said, it's all the voting process all goes through the U.S. mail, and as when you hear this, you should either have received or about to receive. Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, evidently it hadn't come out yet,
Yeah.
but
And-
they told me they were going to let me know, so it hadn't come out this morning.
Yeah. And we will, of course, remind people that it needs to be postmarked, so don't wait till May 21. I would say go into your post office or get it in your mailbox to go outbound, but prior to that. Mark, let's go back to what we did at the very beginning. Let's tell everybody a little bit about you, your experience in the work world that makes this natural for you.
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to be outside all my life, and growing up, I thought, what can I do? What can I do? I would have loved to farm, but I couldn't figure out how to get in it, make any money, and make a living. And I knew some people, and they said, this is the occupation. I had an uncle that worked for a telephone company, and he brought it up, and he said, it might be a good fit for you. So I got into it, and I started with Salt River in 1980, and I've done it all my life. Ever since then, I've been in the utility industry, electric utility industry, and once you get in it, if you like it, it kind of gets in your blood, and you can't get it out. And now I'm retired, and I have time, and I have the knowledge. I've done everything from going out and talk to the customer, finding out what they want, to staking out the lines and building them and saying, here you go, your lights are on, and we're going to try to keep them on. That's going to be our goal. When we get them on, we're going to keep them on. Because we don't want problems. It costs money. If they don't stay on, it costs everybody money. If we get the line out there and it's not on, that meter's not turning, then it's higher rates for me and you.
And the inconvenience, but
and the inconvenience, yeah.
And then the repair. I think you made the point that preventive maintenance of anything, but certainly in this infrastructure that Salt River operates is extremely important and may be a cost-saving measure.
In the long run, it is. Anytime you do maintenance and you fix something before it breaks, that means it stayed on.
Yeah.
And if it goes out and you have to get everybody together in the middle of the night to go out there and put it back up, it costs time, it's inconvenient. It's a safety factor. Everything is just better under scheduled maintenance than it is under emergency measures.
It's amazing what you did in your career and people are still doing today, of how when an outage occurs is how they find it, where the outage is. You know who's out, but where is there one place issue?
And you get into some of that backcountry, it takes some people to figure it out. They have things you can put on the line now that helps you track it down.
Yeah.
But back years ago, you just kind of scattered out and looked for the flash.
Yeah.
That's what they say. You see the flash, and we'll narrow it down from there.
Yeah. It's something that it's always amazed me. But as with anything, keeping it going and making it better, if at all possible, is what we should strive to do. You mentioned, I believe, there's just 6 members on this board?
Yeah, just 6 members. Mm-hmm.
So you would want to be one of the voices of those?
I'd like to. Just from my experience, like I say, with the fresh eyes, you can give fresh ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that people will be happy with my ideas, to tell you the truth. They might be simple, just like the phone thing, to keep people from being on hold where you can call them back. I'm sure I would be more into the equipment part of it. I think we should have the best equipment there is, because if we have the best equipment, that makes our job easier, makes everything work better. You don't have to worry about breaking down going to the job. You don't have to worry about going up and down. That's a safety problem. And you want happy employees. That's what happy, like I say, happy employees are productive employees.
Mark, the election's coming up. If somebody wants to talk to you, you're willing to sit down and talk with them?
Sure. I'm on Facebook. They can get me on Messenger. If I have any ideas, or if they have any ideas, I'm all ears. If somebody has something they want to change, if they just want to talk, I have time. I'm retired now, so I have all day.
Time enough to serve Salt River's customer owners?
Yeah, I probably got more time than most.
Yeah.
That are. I really don't know what the other people do for a living, but I know that if I don't have anything so important that I can't make a meeting, I'm sure.
Mark Etheredge is a candidate running for one of the two board seats that are up for election in Nelson County on the Salt River Board, Salt River Electric Board of Directors, and that is a mail-in, mail-out ballot. When I say mail-in, it comes to you, a Salt River member owner, and you have to do the effort of checking off who you're voting for and making sure it gets signed and back in the mail.
Signed and dated.
Signed and dated and back.
It has to be signed, and it has to be signed the way they send it to you, just like your membership card.
Okay.
And if it's not like that, they just pitch them.
Okay. So take time and take care when you cast your vote.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. Signing your name, putting a date on there, it's pre-addressed,
Yeah.
it's postmarked, it doesn't cost you anything. If you don't do it, it might cost you a voice.
All right. Mark, thank you very much for being with us here today here on the radio.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for everybody's vote if I can get it.